Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Illinois, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, New Mexico, North Carolina, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Washington. What do all of these states have in common? They have all ordered their schools to close. Now, some schools are organizing online classes and some aren't. Some have a plan for kids that are struggling and have IEP hours, and others are going to wait until they get back to school. Now, these schools are closing anywhere from 2 to 5 weeks. The teachers that are teaching online don't all have a positive attitude about this. They fear that their students will not get the same kind of education and that their students will be idle most of the time. Some teachers have told me that they would be surprised if certain students even showed up for their online classes and instead use this as an extra long spring break. So, how do we combat coronavirus learning loss? Stay tuned. My name's Joanne Kaminski, and I've been tutoring online since 2010. And this weekend, I decided to take that plunge and head to the local grocery store with my 4 kids being home. I knew we're going to need to at least do some basic grocery shopping for the week. And the weirdest thing happened. In the parking lot, we ran into our cousins. What are the odds? I guess the odds are high when everyone needs to visit the stores at the same time. At first glance, when we entered the grocery store, it really didn't look too bad. I could easily grab any fresh fruit or vegetables that I needed. However, this kind of food can spoil, so it makes sense that people wouldn't hoard it, right? My daughter, she works at this grocery store, so she was warning me that there were lines of 20 people deep at the cash registers the night before. I was lucky not to have that experience. I mean, the big scare and mass hysteria must have already happened since the coronavirus was mentioned to be a pandemic and schools were directed by the governor to be closed until April 6th. As my daughter and I walked around, we did see certain aisles empty, but there was still plenty of food for people. We needed tissues, and we were even able to get those. Oh, yeah. Now, there were only a few people with masks on, and there really were no lines. We only had to wait behind one guy. Now, after we went to the grocery shopping, we decided to still take part in the Feed My Children event we had volunteered for. Our family, cousins, aunts, and uncles decided to be a team to help feed children in Africa. And we were told that we were the last group to be part of this initiative until the pandemic passes. We were able to pack up more than a pallet of boxes to feed children in places of need. It was sad thinking that programs like this need to come to a halt because of what's going on, but it felt great to be part of something so significant. Now, according to an article on USA Today, they announced that wide-scale learning loss could be among the biggest impacts that coronavirus has on children in America, said Betsy Zorio, Vice President of U.S. Programs at Save the Children, an international children's charity. With an unprecedented number of school closures already announced and many more expected, ensuring that children can continue to learn is essential. Now, I have personally seen, you guys, how online learning can be as effective or even more effective than in-person tutoring. I mean, the very first student that I saw a dramatic growth in a short period of time was a first grader that was deemed one of the lowest students in her class. So here is Ruby's story. With backpack on and all smiles on her first day of school, here she is. La! I love it. She was excited to get on the bus, and her mom was excited for her too. But as the year progressed, her teacher and her mom decided that they had noticed a change in Ruby. She had these frequent meltdowns. She was full of tears. She had lots of withdrawal, as she struggled with feelings that were just bigger than she was. But she was always willing to try. Her mom watched this beautiful and radiant kid withdraw and wither away because of repeated failures to live up to expectations. Her light just disappeared. She couldn't keep up with her peers, and it crushed her confidence. Ruby's mom was understanding and kind to her, but the last straw for Ruby's mom was when the parent-teacher conference at the end of the year happened. The teacher mentioned that Ruby was in the bottom 25% of the class. She suggested summer school and reading with Ruby more at home. Now at this point, Ruby's mom, Mandy, she was frustrated. Why had they waited till the end of the year to tell her that her daughter needed help with reading? Ruby's mom knew how bright her daughter was, but being in the bottom 25% of the class is not exactly a compliment. Her mom wondered, how could all of this be happening? So Ruby's mom started searching on the internet for a solution, and she turned to her stay-at-home mom group on Facebook. She vented to them what was going on, and one of the members, who happens to be a parent to a girl in my daughter's class, mentioned me. And she knew what I did because I had a big, and I mean a big sign on my car that said reading tutoring. And she suggested me, and we did the free assessment to find out what was going on for Ruby. And the biggest thing holding Ruby back was her phonics skills. I mean, everything else seemed to be in place, and in just 3 short months of working with me, she went from the bottom quadrant of her class to the top, starting 2nd grade. Ruby was able to put on that backpack now on the first day of 2nd grade with a big grin on her face, fist pumping in the air with enthusiasm to have a great year. And guess what? She did. She was at the top of her class reading. Kids didn't make fun of her, and instead, they admired her. I love Ruby's story. And you know what? We can use this time right now to catch all our students up that are struggling the most so they don't have to suffer from coronavirus learning loss. If you are an in-person tutor, you can move your students online. Now, this weekend, I had an amazing opportunity to meet Bon Sheedy from Australia. I did a training for 37 tutors who wanted to move some of their in-person students to online students. And after our first call, we discussed how to have the conversation with a parent about doing online tutoring. Right after our call, he had a parent that wanted to cancel, and he offered the idea of doing it online. And his response was this: I just had my first online session only a few hours after the 2-hour call. Would not have happened if it wasn't for this program. Epic. I was so excited that tutors that took the course were now able to keep more money during these tough times and not lose out on possible income. He took action immediately. And Nikki Moraldo also converted one of her students immediately. It is so exciting to see more people embracing the technology and continuing to work with their students. So, tip number 1 to combating coronavirus learning loss is to keep working with your tutor. Whether you have an online tutor already or an in-person tutor. If you're an in-person tutor and you need help tutoring online, write me a message in the comments. We can set you up with some successful tools. Tip number 2 to combating coronavirus learning loss, visit the virtual library from your phone or computer. Grab books and read. Read about things that interest you. Read about things that you're currently learning in school, and make this an opportunity to grow instead of be slowed. Tip number 3 is to do all of your assignments that your teacher's giving you. This is not an extended vacation. Don't allow this pause to cause a halt in education. So tutors, when a parent or a student says that they don't need help during this time, you need to fight for your students who don't know how to fight for themselves, and be adamant that this isn't the absolute wrong time to stop tutoring. This is an opportunity to catch up, understand, and be better prepared when they get back to school. I personally warned my students to not take the summer off because of summer reading loss. And this is no different than that. Whenever students have an extended time off, they could begin to forget what they've learned, and they lose months of knowledge that they've had. Staying on top of their work now and closing that gap for them is pivotal. Number 4, be relentless. Don't be a pushover. Some of your students could use this time to close this significant gap. If they are 2 years behind in a subject, you could double or triple the amount of time that you're working with them so that when they go back to school, school is easy for them and not hard. You have the ability to increase their confidence, help them succeed, and reach new levels of success they may never have experienced before. Now, my daughter is a junior right now and beginning her college search and taking SAT exams that are being canceled. And I just received an email from CAPEX Admissions Advising that had these tips. 1, don't let virus-related school closings hurt your grades. You've got to finish your junior year with strong results. So if this means quickly getting comfortable with distance learning, then do it. Some kids will throw their hands up in frustration and transition poorly. Don't be one of them. 2, they say, stay close to your teachers. The end of junior year is the time to ask your teachers for recommendations, not next year. This is going to be harder if you're out of school for an extended period. Make it a point to email or video chat directly and regularly with those teachers you intend to ask for a recommendation. The same goes for your school's college advisors. 3, make sure you have a testing backup plan. It's possible that the SAT and ACT may have to cancel more test dates before the end of the school year. This means fewer chances to get the score you need. But don't panic. Instead, put extra time into practice tests and take them timed as if you were sitting for a real exam. You'll be better prepared when everything opens back up. 4, look for ways to keep extracurriculars going. Many school-based activities are likely to be canceled, but you've still got to show impressive extracurriculars to colleges by fall of this year. So seek out opportunities out of school to enhance those clubs you're doing at school, or take them online if you need to. It's going to show leadership to keep going in the face of adversity. And 5, build your summer plan now. More time at home means more time to research what you might do over the summer to improve your applications this fall. Seek out internships or summer jobs that fit your narrative. Check out what kinds of courses are available locally that could improve your academic standing. Don't assume that deadlines to apply to these types of programs will be delayed. They may not be. Juniors around the world, you guys, and other students are going to be looking for additional ways to get an education for their children. Now, I've heard of many tutors that are getting increased hours because their parents want their kids to keep going and not be slowed by this pandemic. So if you happen to be a parent and an online tutor, you may be wondering, how are you going to balance taking care of your kids and tutoring your students? It seems like a balancing act that you're not really sure how you can handle all of this stuff, but you can. If your own children are in grade school, put some boundaries in place. I had a rule that if I had my headset on, this meant I was working with a student and not to talk to me. If they had something to say, then they needed to write it down, and they would use this little boogie board to write it down for me, and then I would be able to determine if there was an immediate need for me to be able to help them. Now, this helpful system was great for them too, because they had to think about how to write down what they wanted to say. The system began in first grade and has continued until today. Now, when my youngest daughter was 3, I would allow her to play underneath my desk. She loved it. She thought it was her office. I loved it. She loved it. She would bring her girl Legos with her and her stuffed animals, and she loved that she could just be right next to her mom. And I loved that I knew where she was and that she was okay. I would need to sometimes set her up with something to drink and her sippy cup and put it on my special table in my office and a little snack if I was planning on working for more than an hour. She was content and I had peace of mind. My students never minded, even if she decided she wanted to sit on my lap for a little while I was tutoring. I would even play it up and I'd say, hey, do you mind reading a book to Michaela? And they felt honored. It was really awesome. Now, there may be a little bit more background noise for you, and that is not really going to be a problem. There will probably be a little bit more background noise on your student side as well, because everyone's staying home. I made a joke with one of my students last week and I said, hey, you may be staying home from school, but you still get to hang out with me. And she said, yeah. Kids want to keep going with their education, even if they are struggling. My kids are going to be home for the next 3 weeks at least, and I plan on doing business as usual. Nothing needs to stop or pause here. I will be taking an active role in their learning and not letting them get behind. Now, Terry Grigsby, a tutor and a coach in our community, she mentioned this in our Facebook group. Hey, just wanted to share this. I've been really concerned that my parents, my high school kids, might cancel tutoring due to the coronavirus school closures. This is my sole source of income, so I sent an email to all of them addressing their possible concerns. Many sent me thank you notes back, and not one of them canceled tutoring. So if you haven't done this yet, I'm posting my email just in case it might be helpful or useful to anyone else. Hi to all my parents. I wanted to address the elephant in the room. Coronavirus. I know in Oregon, schools have closed for at least 2 weeks. It is happening in many of your states as well. I wanted to encourage all of you to keep tutoring, going throughout this time. It is a great time to get caught up on any missing or late homework, practicing, and getting ready for any upcoming tests, going over concepts that your child never completely understood, so there are no gaps for the finals or for next school year. If the school is going online, it can sometimes be difficult to get all of your questions answered, and even more reason to continue tutoring. If your school sent home stacks of study guides or worksheets, it can certainly help and make sure that your son or daughter is learning the math correctly. Finally, if your child got nothing from your school, I can teach them new concepts. I've taught them all the math classes for over 30 years that I'm tutoring and know the sequence of learning. All of this means we all have really good reasons to continuing the tutoring and making sure the learning continues. If your school has closed and you would like to adjust the time of your tutoring during the morning or early afternoon, just let me know. I'm sure we can find a time. If you're happy with your day and time, then you don't need to do anything. Finally, if you know of any parents concerned about losing out on the math instruction during this crazy time, please feel free to forward my information to them. I'd love to help any kiddos through the coronavirus school closures. Thanks again for allowing me the privilege of working with your child. I love all your kids. Now, Terry was scared that some of her students were going to cancel, but none of them did. And I know that this is not the case with all of our tutors because some tutors are still face-to-face, right? And in face-to-face times, things are different. And after taking a poll inside of Facebook, I learned that 75 people want to learn how to get more online tutoring students. So I have put together our best-selling courses on how to get students and have put it at a price point that allows you to save more the more you buy. Then on Friday, you're going to get to connect live with these tutor coaches for a live question and answer call on the topics that you purchased. Are you wondering how you can get more students? Then this is the answer. Learn how to utilize tools online to get the word out there about your tutoring. Most tutors' biggest problem isn't that they can't teach or tutor well. It is that nobody knows about them. You will have the opportunity to just keep learning more. You're going to learn about effective blogging strategies to get found. Suzanne's going to guide you in not just how to write an effective blog post, but also how to get other people sharing that blog post so that you can get found more easily. Sam is going to be sharing all about how you can use live streaming to grow an audience so that you can work with more students. You're going to get a script to know how to plan your sessions and receive a marketing plan so that people actually come to your live. I will be sharing how you can crush it on YouTube. You're going to get access to replays of the training, learn how to create a hot script so that you don't forget what to say and when to say it. And you're going to learn how to create an eye-catching photo, learn how to get your video found using search engine optimization tricks. This will help your video get found more on Google and YouTube. And finally, you're going to get to access some other strategies to help you get found online using buy-sell trade groups, Craigslist, tutors.com, and Nextdoor. Terry Grigsby has led this training before to help tutors get 5 students in 30 days or less. She shares her ninja tricks to stand out from the crowd so that people choose her as their online tutor. Now, typically, each of these courses costs $97, but you're going to be able to get them at a cheaper rate. The first course that you purchase will still be $97. However, the second and third courses are going to be 50% off. If you choose to add a fourth course, it's going to be 75% off that fourth course. And as a free bonus, anyone that purchases one of our courses is going to get a full weekend of support where you're going to learn how to turn in-person students into online students, learn how to use the tools to tutor online, learn how to accept payment online so that you get paid on time every time, and learn how to deal with some student behaviors so that your sessions go smoothly and effectively. The more you choose, the more you save. Now, this Friday, we have a live question answer call from each of the course creators where you can ask any question about the course that you are a part of. You'll be able to pick their brain, dive a little deeper, and feel supported as you begin to create a plan to get found by students from all over the world and begin closing the gaps for kids with coronavirus learning loss. These videos will be made available if you're not able to join live between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Central Time. So all you need to do is click the link in the description and join us for this mega pass to learning how to get found online. Now, last week I shared how coronavirus is affecting schools. The school district that I mentioned in Bothell that began implementing an online format has not taken off so well. According to Alan Sau, they have actually had to pause their online learning. One, they weren't meeting the needs of special ed students or the IEP students. 2, the teachers themselves were working way too hard to make this sustainable. There were no process for substitutes, and they had their own kids online learning that they were also dealing with. And online learning is a big shift for both teachers and students, and a hard shift to do on a moment's notice. So if you didn't see last week's video, then definitely click on the link on the left-hand side. And I will see you soon.